Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee hearing to review the 2025 operating budget. I'm Councilmember Emmanuel Remy, Chair of the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committees. And I wanted to remind everybody that this hearing is currently live on YouTube and Facebook and is also live and being recorded for rebroadcast on CTV, Columbus's government television channel 3. Each year, Columbus City Council hosts these budget hearings to hear from the city departments and the public on priorities, goals, and barriers before considering passage of an operating budget in the early part of next year. The operating budget consists of annual funding to run the city, salaries, program costs, etc. In contrast, the capital budget is a long-term plan that includes tangible outcomes such as roads, buildings, and sometimes equipment. So I want to thank all of our presenters here today. From the Franklin County Municipal Court, we have Administrative Judge Jessica DeVarga, Judge Eileen Paley, Director of Finance Tanika Jackson, and Deputy Court Administrator John Davenport. Welcome. The Office of the City Attorney, we have Deputy Chief of Staff Brian Shin, Finance Director Christy Power, and Criminal Division Chief Melanie Tobias. From our Franklin County Clerk of Courts, we have Clerk Lori Tyak. Welcome. The Office of Inspector General, we have Jacqueline Hendricks and Nathaniel Ryan. And from the Department of Public Safety, Fiscal Director Tricia Winsel. And finally, we'll have a recorded message from the Director of Office of Violence Prevention, Director Rena Shack. So let's dive right into this and turn the first presentation over to Franklin County Municipal Courts, presented by Judge Eileen Paley.
Good evening, Councilmember Remy. I am Judge Eileen Paley, and I'm the chair of the Municipal Court Finance Committee. As you already introduced, with me is Administrative and Presiding Judge Jessica DeVarga, John Davenport, the Deputy Court Administrator, and Tanika Jackson, our Finance Director. Thank you for the opportunity to address the court's 2025 operating budget. The city has an excellent finance department, and we appreciate their support and guidance throughout this very important process. A special thank you to Director Owens, Deputy Director Chris Long, Budget Officer Lynn Beatty, and Jessica Friedley, the Court Budget Management Specialist. The mayor has recommended a general fund budget of $28,814,860 to support the court's operating costs in 2025. The court appreciates the considerations given by the Finance Department. Key aspects of the court's general fund budget request include $490,000 to support the court's specialized dockets, including Link, Catch, MAVS, HART, and the Recovery Court. These programs are essential in addressing the root causes of criminal behavior and providing participants with the care and support that they need. The results speak for themselves: lower recidivism, fewer jail nights, and a safer community. In addition, many participants have been reunited with their families and returned to productive lives, contributing positively to the city of Columbus. $125,000 to sustain the court's work release program. This program offers an alternative to incarceration, allowing individuals to serve their sentences while maintaining employment, promoting rehabilitation, and supporting community reintegration. $814,000 is allocated to provide language services to the court and all associated parties. This funding supports language services, including contracts with outside vendors for interpreters, as well as dedicated resources for Spanish and Somali interpreters. These services are vital to ensure that all members of our diverse community receive fair and accessible services. The general fund also supports Specialized Enforcement and Response Team, our CERT team. The CERT team collaborates with local law enforcement to monitor high-risk individuals and ensure compliance with court orders. The CERT unit focuses on reducing domestic violence and violent offenders. This unit is important to ensure the safety of both victims and the community, which is in line with the goals of the city's safety initiative. The Self-Help Center is a free walk-in clinic to help those who want to start or already have a civil case pending in the municipal court. Areas of focus for the Self-Help Center include providing eviction resources, assistance to persons seeking to seal their criminal record, and a successful mediation program. The Self-Help Center collaborates with the city's Opportunity Port program to streamline the process of sealing criminal records. I'm very proud to say in 2024, the clinic served close to 1,000 people during 2 record sealing events, removing key barriers to housing and employment. The city continues its support of the MARCH program. MARCH stands for Medical Assisted Treatment, Assessments, Referrals, Collaboration, and Hope. The MARCH program provides direct on-site and virtual linkage to behavioral, medical, employment, treatment, and community resources. However, I must highlight a concern the proposed 2025 budget has for the court, and that is the elimination of funds for training and travel. This will impact over 200 employees in almost every department of the court, including judges, magistrates, attorneys, probate officers, environmental court, court security officers, administration, technology, and employees with licensures in field of social work also. These trainings are mandated for meeting continuing legal education requirements and maintaining licensures and certification in critical areas like law, social work, and probation management. Additionally, the court must pay the City of Columbus for utilizing the training programs offered to other city agencies at no cost. These training programs are essential to the court's workforce development and include ethics, diversity and equity, and inclusion, management, and supervisory training, just to name a few. Ultimately, the denial of this funding will impact the court's ability to serve the public, and we respectfully request that training funds be reinstated to the 2025 budget. The expertise of the court staff and the dynamic services and programs the court offers has led to multiple grant awards totaling approximately $3.5 million in grant awards. The various awards showcase the court's commitment to community welfare. From domestic violence to electronic monitoring, these grants bolster our efforts to provide public safety and serve our neighbors effectively. Some of the court's $3.5 million in grants award include LGBTQI domestic violence programming from Franklin County that supports the LGBTQI community, victims assistance funding to support victims of crimes while the offender is on probation, and alternative sentencing programs for probationers. Grants from the state of Ohio support advocacy for domestic violence victims, electronic monitoring staff, and comprehensive pretrial services unit. Multiple awards from the U.S. Bureau of Justice Assistance totaling $1.2 million to expand services for drug courts, veterans courts, and mental health dockets. The court has recently received an award of opiate settlement funds from Ohio One Foundation for $450,000 to support recovery housing for women with children in recovery. Additionally, $125,500 from Franklin County via their local opiate settlement government funds and TCAP awards were awarded to support on-site assessors to the MARCH Clinic. The city's Department of Development funds a full-time social worker dedicated to the Self-Help Center. This social worker is an essential resource to residents dealing with housing insecurity, evictions, or with sealing or expunging records. Emergency rental assistance funds from the development will continue to support the social worker through September of 2025. Additionally, the mayor provided $338,000 through the Department of Violence Prevention to bring the Batters Intervention Program into the courthouse. Batters Intervention is a court-ordered educational programming to address and change the behaviors of domestic violence offenders. Bringing this program in-house will remove the barriers preventing people from completing the program. We believe we will successfully change behavior and reduce the risk of reoffending, which aligns with City Council and the Mayor's goals of reducing violence. The Franklin County Commissioners are also providing additional support to this programming. The municipal court remains committed to restorative justice, offering programming and interventions that reduce recidivism and support rehabilitation. The court proactively engages and receives favorable responses and continued collaboration with other government partners, including City Council, Mayor Ginther, City Attorney Klein, Common Pleas Court, County Commissioner, the County Sheriff, and many others. Our partnerships and sharing of resources are essential to the success and long-term program sustainability of our programs. Collaboration leads to greater program efficiencies, cost savings, and enhanced public services and resources, all of which affect the court's ability to positively problem solve. In conclusion, as the largest and busiest municipal court in Ohio, this court is committed to continually improving operations and making the best use of resources. We do understand the challenges posed by the current economic conditions and deeply appreciate the city's investment in the court and its operations. We appreciate and share your focus on public safety and are proud to be your partner in this important work. Chairperson Remy, thank you for your support and the opportunity to present. Judge DeVarga is more than willing to answer whatever questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Judge. You mentioned the shortfall in the training and travel and meeting those required training requirements. Could you give me an estimate on how much those dollars were?
About $180,000. Approximately $180,000.
Okay, thank you. And then the number that you gave out, you mentioned the top of the talking points. I did have a specific question in regards to interpretation needs. What was the number that you have allocated in the budget for that?
Currently, it's $814,000 in the 2025 budget for language services. That would cover 4 full-time staff interpreters and 19 interpreter contracts with individuals and companies.
Okay, for staff interpreters and then you're using other resources such as like the AT&T global
Correct.
line.
We have to do a lot of phone interpretation because I think just last year, in 23, we had 8,000 service requests for Spanish, Somali, Meme, and Swahili, and then 2,000 requests in 36 other languages.
Yeah, not surprised. But glad to hear that you have the money to allocate it. Is it enough to meet the need?
I don't know that it's enough. I don't know. We could probably use 10 interpreters, and I don't know that we would still be able to fully staff all of our courtrooms on a daily basis. Currently, one of the problems that we're having is we have had a Spanish interpreter position open for over a year and a half because the budget that we've set for them, we can't be competitive with what other businesses are paying interpreters privately, and so it's very difficult to maintain on-staff interpreters with that salary.
Okay. Can you also talk about your efforts to, technologically upgrade and how that will improve your operations moving forward?
I can. Thanks to the support of City Finance and City Council, the court established its own technology team in 2021. We are progressing on technology that is not only necessary for efficiency, but also required by the state and the Supreme Court. As a result, the court now offers a dynamic and interactive website and an internal help desk service and is continually evaluating technology to improve operations. The court continues to work to modernize our IT infrastructure with many ongoing and future projects aimed at improving efficiency, functionality, and security within our IT systems. In 2024, the court migrated to the City of Columbus's network and telephone infrastructure. Leveraging this modern and stable infrastructure, the court is now able to successfully modernize business processes across the organization. Initiatives for 2025 include developing new case management applications for our service bailiffs and mediation programs. Both applications will reduce paper and increase efficiency, allowing for better communication and service to the public. Collaboration with the Clerk of Courts remains strong, with several initiatives underway to move toward a totally paperless environment across the court. These initiatives include expanding e-filing with a new API, paperless initiatives for several departments, including the duty judge and traffic court, and beginning to plan a replacement for our legacy case management system of CourtView.
Thank you very much. Any other further comments from you guys? That's all the questions that I have, so I appreciate the time and putting together this report today, and appreciate all your efforts in the state's largest municipal court. Thank you for all that you do. Next, we'll hear from the Office of the City Attorney. I will turn it over to Deputy Chief of Staff Brian Shin, and Finance Director Chrissy Power, and Criminal Division Chief Melanie Tobias.
Good afternoon, Chair Remy. As you said, I am Brian Shin, Deputy Chief of Staff to Columbus City Attorney Zach Klein. And first of all, I'd like to thank you and City Council for the opportunity to present our 2025 budget request. As you indicated, I have with me today Melanie Tobias Hunter, who is the Criminal Division Chief Attorney, and Christy Power, our Fiscal Director. Under the Columbus City Charter, the City Attorney is the legal advisor of an attorney and counsel for the city and for all officers and departments thereof in matters relating to their official duties. The City Attorney also serves as the prosecuting attorney of the municipal court and shall prosecute or defend for and in behalf of the city all complaints, suits, and controversies in which the city is a party. The office is divided into two divisions for the purposes of the budget. The City Attorney Division, which is funded mostly from the general fund, and the Real Estate Division, which is funded both from the general fund and from the Land Acquisition Fund. Within these two budgetary divisions, there are 9 legal sections and our administration section. And briefly walk you through our sections. We have the General Counsel section, which serves as primarily the legal counsel to most city departments regarding their day-to-day operations. The Litigation section, which defends the city and its employees in all types of civil litigation in both state and federal courts. The Labor and Employment section, which handles all labor and employment-related litigation and provides legal advice to city departments on labor and employment matters involving all city employees and the 6 collective bargaining agreements. The Police Legal Advisor section, the 2 attorneys in this section deliver around-the-clock, real-time advice to police personnel as they are on call 24/7. They also provide legal training to Division of Police recruits and to current officers. Our Solicitor General section works to protect the legal rights of Columbus's residents through proactive litigation and promoting important public policy changes. They also oversee complex appellate litigation in state and federal courts. The Real Estate Division is responsible for acquiring all real property interests needed by the city and for providing legal assistance to city departments regarding real estate matters, including the sale and leasing of property, utility easements, right-of-way dedications, and matters related to the real estate property taxes. The Claims section, of which I am also the Chief Attorney, investigates pre-litigation tort claims against the city above $2,500. These claims include personal injury and property damage claims. We also manage the collection of delinquent debt owed to the city after city departments have exhausted remedies, and the income tax division, of the auditor's office is our primary client. The Property Action Team focuses on eliminating public nuisances that blight neighborhoods, whether it's abandoned and deteriorated houses, properties with known drug activity, other criminal activity, excessive noise, or trash and debris. This team seeks to eliminate these problems. They also work to improve the quality of life for residents in Columbus's neighborhoods. They pursued lawsuits in the Environmental Division of the Franklin County Municipal Court, seeking equitable solutions to persistent problems. The Criminal Division prosecutes misdemeanor criminal offenses under the city codes and state law in the Franklin County Municipal Court. Within that division is also the Specialized Domestic Violence and Stalking Unit, which handles the most involved high-risk domestic violence cases involving repeat offenders, weapons used or brandished, severe injuries, and children, elderly, or pregnant victims. They are trauma-informed, culturally competent, and understand the ripple effect of domestic violence. We currently have a total of 184 employees as of December 2024, which includes 73 attorneys, 79 full-time administrative and support staff, and 32 part-time support staff. Our 2025 budget request included a few expansion requests that were not included in the administration's proposed budget that I would like to highlight briefly. First is the Axon Justice Digital Evidence Management System. We are requesting funding to support year one of a 3-year contract with Axon Enterprises, Inc. to allow our criminal prosecution staff to access the Axon Justice Digital Evidence Management System. This tool will allow our staff more easily to access and utilize body-worn camera footage, photos, and other video and audio evidence, as well as having transcription, search functionality, and redaction services. Under the current no-cost version of the software that we're using, our staff spends a significant amount of time manually transcribing audio files and lacks the ability to research, redact, and easily share electronic evidence efficiently in response to discovery requests. Although we did apply for a multi-year grant in conjunction with the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office to obtain DEMS for both offices, we were informed recently that that grant application was not successful. The second request that I would like to address is Everlaw's e-discovery software. Courts are increasingly requiring government law departments and law firms to utilize e-discovery products to ensure the accuracy and authenticity of data, documents, text messages, emails, photos, videos, and other files stored as electronic media for the discovery process in litigation. E-discovery products allow lawyers and support staff to better manage, sort, and redact voluminous data sets for discovery and trial preparation. And our office currently has no e-discovery product available. Finally, the City Attorney's Office is seeking funding for a public service announcement program to increase community awareness of domestic violence and the urgent work and resources our office can provide to keep Columbus residents who experience domestic violence safe. Since many of our residents lack access to the internet and do not use social media applications, these communications will reach them through radio and television advertisements to educate the community about how we can work together to increase public safety by promoting resources available to these people experiencing domestic violence. Funding this request will better serve all Columbus residents by informing them of the critical resources available, since anyone may be interacting with people experiencing domestic violence, whether it's a coworker, a friend, or a family member. Thank you for your consideration of our budget request, and we would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shin. I'd like to acknowledge and welcome my colleague, Councilmember Melissa Green, who has joined us today at this committee hearing. I'll go ahead and ask a couple of questions. Can you discuss a little bit further detail the ongoing progress that the Property Action Team is making and how you see the team, expanding in 2025?
Yes, thank you, Chair Remy. Our first area of expansion for 2025 will be to expand our apartment nuisance abatement group. We work intensively with about a dozen of the city's most troubled apartment complexes. Multiple city departments have standing on-site meetings with ownership and management. We identify and implement measures to improve safety, living conditions, and resident engagement. If ownership invests in improvements, we'll work together indefinitely to sustain these improvements. If not, we'll sue them to compel these improvements. And if that doesn't work, we will seek receivership and compel a sale of the troubled property. We're also adding staff, primarily through a Department of Justice grant, to coordinate the on-site meetings and track progress at apartment complexes. This will free up our attorneys to focus more on the legal work. The second expansion for 2025 is expanding our owner-occupied initiative. This initiative funds home repairs for seniors who own and occupy their own homes to correct housing code violations. This provides essential repairs such as new roofs. It also protects seniors from predatory developers who seek to exploit the stress caused when seniors receive housing code violation notifications. Historically, we've leveraged existing programs and resources. About 3 years ago, City Council added funding for NextGen to fill in the gaps. This year, Council is adding a second provider, Habitat for Humanity.
Thank you very much for that. And then can you talk a little bit about how the grant funding will augment your efforts in the coming years, especially in areas such as domestic violence?
Yes, sir. The City Attorney's Office pursues federal, state, and local government grants and private foundation funding to support coordinated justice and community response initiatives and public services that address criminal behavior and nuisance properties. Grant projects are designed to promote public safety, individual safety, and create opportunity for Columbus residents. Grant dollars support staff, training, services, and equipment or supplies. In the realm of domestic violence, we have received the Victims of Violence of Crime Act grant from the federal government, and that pays for salary expenses for 3.6 advocates working directly with victims of domestic violence. It also provides, the advocates provide information on victim rights, court notification, court navigation, support with victim witness statements, safety planning, and linkage to community-based supports. A second grant that has benefited our domestic violence unit is also a federal grant under the Violence Against Women Act. And it pays for the total compensation for one stalking victim advocate and salary expenses for 1.7 specially trained DV prosecutors. 1.7 FTE is what I mean by that. A third grant in the domestic violence space is from the Office on Violence Against Women, Improving Justice Response. And that pays the total compensation for two victim advocates working with felony domestic violence, strangulation, sexual assault, and homicide victims and families at the municipal court arraignment. These positions fill a critical safety gap. Prior to these positions, felony victims, which again are some of our highest risk cases, did not connect with advocacy until the case was already indicted, which could be weeks or months into the process. It also pays the total compensation for two victim advocates responding on scene with law enforcement on domestic violence runs. It also pays for the total compensation for one victim advocate working directly with domestic violence survivors filing for civil protection in the Common Pleas Family Protection Center. An additional grant with our domestic violence section is the Justice Assistance Grant, and it provides funding for Ohio State to complete a sample research study assessing the prevalence of traumatic brain injury in domestic violence victims and offender populations, and exploring accommodations that could be integrated into justice processes and procedures to better support victims and engage in prosecution and offenders as part of fulfilling their rehabilitation, pro-social, anti-violence community supervision plans. And then the other two grants that I'd like to highlight regarding our property action team, we have received a Bureau of Justice Assistance Smart Prosecution Grant, which is from the federal government, from the Department of Justice, and it will pay for the total compensation to add a full-time community relations director to the property action team. And then finally, Buckeye Diversion Program, the Joyce Foundation Grant, which is a private foundation covering the fees for certified community healthcare workers providing case management for participants in the city attorney's nonviolent misdemeanor diversion program. This service will be funded through the general fund starting in the third quarter of 2025.
Thank you very much. I'd also like to take the opportunity to promote a partnership that my office has had with the city attorney's office, our Project Taillight, which is helping people get car repairs that are in need. And so that's been highly successful, and I know we want to try to continue that this year as well. So thank you for that opportunity to partner. And that is, we appreciate your presentation this evening and reporting out from the city attorney's office. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair Remy. Thank you, Councilmember Green.
Thanks. Next, we will hear from the Franklin County Clerk of Courts, Clerk Lori Tyak in the House, and so we're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you
The
so
floor is
much. Good
yours.
evening, Council Members Ramey and Green and staff. I appreciate the opportunity to meet with you tonight to talk about our 2025 operating budget and also to highlight the accomplishments and strategic priorities for the Clerk's Office in the coming years. First, I'd like to say thank you to my staff for their commitment to public service. They are very supportive of one another, open to learning new things, and enthusiastic when given the opportunity to participate in outreach programs. Our 2025 general budget request is just over $19 million. It breaks down to $17.7 million for personnel, $152,000 for materials and supplies, and $1.1 million for services. The clerk's office will be taking a 2.0 vacancy credit for a savings of $354,000. Our computer fund budget request is $1.1 million, and this fund is supported through the collection of court costs according to state statute. Funds are allocated for software and equipment purchases to ensure the efficient work of the clerk's office. I'm very proud of the work each division accomplished in 2024. Our caseload is returned to and in some areas has exceeded our pre-pandemic numbers. In August, we began providing FedEx as an option for service for parties filing civil cases. The success of certified mail dwindled down to 20%, and the change was definitely needed. FedEx offers a paperless service which includes an electronic upload of the signature into our case management system. To date, our customers have experienced a 70% success rate using FedEx to serve their important legal documents. Of the 21 law enforcement agencies operating in Franklin County, 8 are now filing their traffic tickets using electronic citation software provided free by the Ohio Highway Patrol. 7 additional agencies are interested in collaborating with the clerk's office to integrate this software. The clerk's office is legally responsible for collecting debt owed the court. More than $2.5 million of unpaid fines were sent to 4 collection agencies. This was an increase of 12% as compared to 2023. The total collected was $757,000, and now we are accepting ACH payments from all of our collection agencies. I'm excited to share that we have taken our support for law enforcement and public safety to the next level by providing support services at the new James Carnes Correction Center. And when charges have an applicable bond, those in custody may choose to make a bond payment using a live agent kiosk. These on-site services help reduce jail overcrowding and allow law enforcement officers to return to the street more quickly. In addition to supporting the work of the court and our justice partners, we hosted and participated in organized programs which directly support our community. These include the Driver's License Reinstatement Workshop, the Walk-In for Wellness, expungement clinics, and the Tap-In Center. In late August, we hosted our 4th driver's license reinstatement workshop at the Columbus Metropolitan Library's main library downtown, and we broke records. An estimated 519 individuals were assisted by the legal aid of Southeast and Central Ohio, the Ohio Bureau of Motor Vehicles, and our own courts, judges, and magistrates, just to name a few. More than $81,000 in court costs and reinstatement fees were forgiven, and 100 participants left with valid driver's licenses. Participants were able to get answers to their questions in one place, rather than driving to multiple locations, which can be a burden, especially without a valid driver's license. Mark your calendars now. We anticipate holding the next workshop in September of 2025. Programs like these make a direct and positive impact on the lives of citizens while helping to diminish the barrier between the court and the community. We are proud to be part of the success of these programs. The future of the clerk's office depends on continuous growth and improvement, the implementation of new technology, and the ability to collaborate with all our justice partners. A few of our 2025 strategic priorities include continuing to expand electronic filing to include all civil case types with the implementation of electronic workflow, collaboration with the court and our justice partners to set goals and future modernization of court processes and procedures, and the implementation of a 5-year plan to replace the current case management system using technological advancements to better meet the needs of the citizens of Columbus and Franklin County. Thank you for your consideration of our budget request. City Council has been wonderful to support the operations of the clerk's office during this past year. I'd also like to say thank you to Mayor Ginther, Director Kathy Owens, and staff, and the other members of City Council for their support during the past year. That concludes my presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Clerk. I know that you're always working on technology upgrades, and so just thought maybe you could talk a little bit about where things stand today and what your outlook is for 2025.
Absolutely. Well, during this past year, we've seen a huge uptick in the number of cases filed, especially in the civil division, and we are making upgrades to improve the case information availability online for most of our justice partners and to our customers, our public customers. The goal is, of course, to reduce our reliance on paper files and start using the computer more than we are those written paper files. We also hope to provide new opportunities to our justice partners for electronic filing so that they do not have to spend time creating that paper file, and just by electronically sending it to us, it diminishes all of our reliance on that paper. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's really all I had today. So appreciate the presentation and certainly look forward to our continued partnership in 2025.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk. Next, we will, let's see here. I got to make sure I'm on track. We're going to pass it on to the Department of the Inspector General, Inspector General Jacqueline Hendricks. And if you would, go ahead and start your presentation.
Good evening. Thank you. Good evening, Councilman Remy and other council members. Thank you. Good evening, Councilman Remy, and also the other members of the City Council. The presentation that's going to be done this evening for the Office of Inspector General is going to be done by our fiscal manager, Nate Ryan.
Good evening, Chair Remy, Councilmember Green. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Department of the Inspector General's proposed budget for 2025. First, I want to express our gratitude for the 2024 budget allocation, which enabled us to make significant progress on several key initiatives central to our mission. One of our top priorities in 2024 was increasing staff capacity. to better manage workloads and continue delivering high-quality service to the citizens of Columbus. With 6 investigators at the start of 2024, meeting our contractual obligation with the Fraternal Order of Police to complete investigations within 90 days required a significant effort from our team. Thanks to your support, we were able to hire 3 additional investigators and 1 investigator supervisor, bringing our investigative team to a total of 8 investigators and 2 investigator supervisors. This additional capacity has greatly enhanced our ability to meet timelines and conduct thorough, well-rounded reviews of citizen complaints. In addition to increasing our investigative team, we hired an intake specialist, which has streamlined the complaint intake process, expedited the triage of cases, and enhanced the responsiveness to citizens. We also hired a management analyst to improve operational efficiency. This role has enhanced our department's fiscal management, expedited public records requests, and strengthened the overall data processes. While we are pleased with these advancements, we still have 2 key vacancies, an executive assistant to the DIG and an additional intake specialist that we are committed to filling in 2025. Furthermore, the 2024 budget enabled critical training for our staff in civilian oversight of police practices. Many team members participated in specialized programs and conferences, earning Certified Inspector General Investigator credentials through the Association of Inspector Generals. This training ensures our investigators maintain the highest professional standards and investigative techniques. Finally, we are grateful for your support in approving the DIG office expansion. This much-needed space will accommodate our growing staff, foster an environment of productivity, collaboration, and well-being. As we transition from building the foundational framework of the DIG to fully implementing our long-term vision, our focus for 2025 is expanding our external engagement. While we provide a vital service to the community, many Columbus residents remain unaware of our office and its role. To address this, our 2025 proposed budget includes $50,000 dedicated to community outreach and advertising. By increasing public awareness, we aim to strengthen community trust, enhance transparency, and promote positive relationships between the citizens and law enforcement. Independent oversight is essential for building accountability and giving our residents a clear avenue to voice concerns. Turning to the 2025 departmental budget figures, we face a challenging fiscal landscape amidst broader financial constraints affecting the city. To ensure the effective operation of our department and maintain a high level of service to the citizens of Columbus, a significant portion of our budget has been allocated to personnel costs. With an increase of $156,000, 116, this adjustment reflects the addition of essential staff to support our mission. We also saw a modest increase of approximately $6,700 to address the needs for materials and supplies. However, the services portion of our budget experienced a notable reduction of $154,720, primarily to accommodate these increased personnel costs. While the department initially allocated $56,500 for training and education, these funds were removed as part of broader budget cuts implemented by the Department of Finance and Management. This reduction impacts both the Department of the Inspector General and Civilian Police Review Board, which is housed in the department's budget, further contributing to the overall decrease in our services budget. Despite these adjustments, the proposed 2025 budget for the Department of the Inspector General represents a modest 0.2% increase in the 2024 adopted budget, amounting to a total increase of just under $5,100. With this budget, we are confident in our ability to continue providing high-quality service to the citizens of Columbus, ensuring effective civilian oversight of the Columbus Division of Police, and promoting greater awareness of our department's mission within the community. We deeply appreciate the hard work of the finance team in assisting us with our proposed budget, in particular Director Owens and Jacqueline Bowman. Thank you as well for your time, your ongoing support, and your thoughtful consideration of our 2025 budget proposal. Together, we can continue working towards a safer, more transparent Columbus that fosters trust and collaboration between the community and law enforcement. We look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Thank you, Nate. The Civilian Review Board, I mean, I don't even know what their expenses are. And so, you know, when you see like a dramatic decrease like that, what are they foregoing?
So we actually did decrease their budget in our 2025 proposal, but the largest cut was to training and travel. The review board has a unique position of being civilian, a second review of our investigations, and there is a specific organization called the National Association of Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement, and they provide specific training for members of boards such as this. So in the past, a few members have attended conferences for training.
I see. And with the, looking at this budget after you've expanded some, I mean, do you feel like you're sufficiently staffed for 2025?
Absolutely. We really were able to grow our staff in 2024 based on the 2024 budget. So yes, we feel very confident because we have expanded our staff over the last 2 years, and thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you very much for the presentation this evening. I appreciate the opportunity to hear from you. Next, we will go to the Department of Public Safety itself, and so I'll turn the floor over to our Fiscal Director, Tricia Wenzel.
Good evening, Council Chair Remy and Councilmember Green. Thank you for this opportunity to discuss the 2025 operating budget proposal for the Department of Public Safety. Our proposed 2025 general fund budget is broken down into 4 division budgets. We have the Director's Office budget, which is $15.17 million, the Division of Police budget, $397.55 million, the Division of Fire budget, $336.24 million, and finally, the Support Services Division budget, which is $27.07 million. That budget also supports over 4,400 full-time employees and 130 part-time employees by the end of 2025. Our total general fund budget for 2025 is $774.47 million. And then when you factor in our E911 fund budget, which is part of the Division of Support Services, that brings us to a total of $776.03 million. Our department's mission is to provide outstanding public safety services to the residents of Columbus, allowing every resident on every street in every neighborhood to feel safe. Our 2025 budget proposal is mainly a continuation budget from where we were in 2024. 91.2% of the proposed budget goes toward funding our most important resource, our people. I would also like to briefly highlight some of our non-personnel programs that are included in our budget proposal. In the Director's Office, we support several community organizations, including Community Crime Patrol, Central Ohio Crime Stoppers, and Columbus Humane. We also budget $2 million per year for our Franklin County Jail contract. $963,026 in 2025 will go to the Franklin County Emergency Management Agency, and $200,000 is for our internal Public Safety Wellness Center. For the Division of Support Services, we have $300,000 budgeted for maintenance services for our neighborhood safety camera program, $100,000 for backhauling of our radio system, $906,000 for our 800 megahertz radio maintenance services contract, $360,000 for our indigent burial and cremation contracts, and $550,000 for our CAD maintenance services, which is our computer-aided dispatch. For the Division of Police, $2.9 million goes towards our Safe Streets Initiative program, which is mainly related to our bike patrol. $2.2 million for our towing contract. Our Shot Spotter contract is budgeted at $840,000. $2.89 million will support our body-worn camera contracts. AFIS, which is our automated fingerprint identification system, is budgeted at just under $500,000 for 2025. $1.5 million will go to maintenance for our helicopter fleet, and $250,000 for our Teen and Police Service Program. For the Division of Fire, we have $1.5 million budgeted for our EMS billing contract, $155,000 for our telestaff service contract, $160,000 for our distance learning contract, and $150,000 for our RQI CPR training contract. That's for resuscitation quality for our CPR efforts, and $1 million for our records management software. For police and fire classes projected for 2025, we'll have 3 classes for police in April, August, and December. Those are the start dates. We're aiming for 60 recruits for each of those classes. For fire, we're going to have 1 class in 2025 starting in December. We also have a class that started in December of this year. Next year's class, we're aiming for 45 recruits. For Division of Police staffing, we have some historical numbers there as of the end of the year for 2018 through 2023. 2024 is our current strength as of the most recent pay period. And then our 2025 budgeted number. And just to give some context for those numbers, when we budget for police and fire, our sworn personnel, we take the number that we have on staff at any given time, add in our projected recruits, and for police, our lateral transfers from other area police departments, and then we subtract out our projected separations. So for the Division of Police for next year, we're planning for 180 recruits and 10 lateral transfers, and estimating 90 separations. And then, as I stated, it's the same formula for fire. We're aiming for 45 recruits and 70 separations in fire. Our cadet program has been very successful. We have 20 per class projected and funded in 2025 for both police and fire. For police, we'll be starting our 7th cadet class, and for fire, that will be our 6th cadet class starting in 2025. These programs are also very diverse. We saw 75% diversity in our most recent police cadet class and 86% diversity in our most recent fire cadet class. The next slide is just kind of to highlight one of the programs that we're very excited about in our department, and it was developed to better serve those with mental health and/or substance use issues, disabilities, or other factors that could make them medically fragile. So we have our alternative response units, and we also work with the Department of Health and other community organizations on these, and those continue to be funded for 2025. Equity has been a major focus of Mayor Ginther, and it is an important aspect of our department's mission. To that end, I wanted to highlight some of our equity initiatives. Those are our comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy, our cadet programs, our teen and police service program, better known as TAPS, minority recruiting, the public safety corps program, our community liaison officers, our recruiting and implicit bias training, and our capital project outreach. That concludes my presentation. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss our 2025 budget submission.
Thank you very much. I've got a series of questions. What steps did the department take to help mitigate some of the projected costs this year, including any reductions?
In 2024, we transferred the licensing and weights and measures groups to the Department of Building and Zoning Services. We also transferred the Columbus Violence Reduction Group to the Mayor's office, and we are currently working very closely with the Division of Fire to reduce and control overtime expenses, particularly in the fire alarm office and at the training academy. With personnel-related expenses making up such a large portion of our budget, our department leadership is always looking for opportunities to use our personnel as efficiently as possible.
Sorry, and can you talk a little bit more about the recruitment efforts for police and making sure that there's more of those recruits that are graduating into the division? So, like the diversity, and then also some of the aid that we've gotten through some grants to help promote that diversity.
Yes. We received $1 million in the form of an Ohio EMA ARPA First Responder Grant. With that funding, we've been working closely with All Star Talent, which is one of the foremost recruiting companies in the country, to bolster our recruitment efforts. They have developed materials that our department can use in recruitment efforts for many years to come. And we are already seeing the successes of these efforts, which have included a candidate landing page, numerous ads and social media videos, and training for our internal recruitment staff. As of the end of November, over 20,000 new candidates have expressed interest in working for our department through the candidate landing page that All-Star developed.
Talk about the projected staffing levels and how they might affect the projected overtime costs in 2025.
Public safety, as you know, is an on-demand service, so we will always have some manner of overtime expenditures. And numerous factors other than staffing can impact those needs, including calls for service, the number of public and high-profile events being hosted in the city, crime levels, and the overall health of the community. That being said, the more officers and firefighters available, the lower our overtime expenditures will be. Also, our efforts to use existing staff more efficiently will reduce the need for overtime.
Could you explain the rationale between having 3 police classes, but yet only 1 fire recruit class?
Yes, if we could briefly go back to the slides. As you can see from the slides, the police numbers have been trending downward, while fire numbers have been trending upward. So we're working to right-size our staffing there. You can see from the slides that there's a greater need to add staff to the Division of Police. Division of Fire staffing has increased significantly over the past years, given the number of classes that we've been allotted. Police officer attrition has been higher than the firefighter attrition over the past 3 years, and therefore there are fewer vacancies on the fire side. In addition, there are a number of efforts underway to increase efficiencies in the fire division, which will address overtime expenses and lessen the need for more than 1 class in 2025.
Thank you. And then finally, can you talk about the funding that you have this coming year for technology upgrades and what areas you're looking to improve upon?
Yes, technology has been a very big focus for our department. We originally requested $7.8 million for technology upgrades to address lapses in data, crime analysis, crime management, and emergency response capabilities. Of that, $1.1 million was approved to address issues with and replace Fire's EMS billing system, which generates $20 to $30 million in revenue annually for the general fund. Some of the areas that we are focusing on in terms of technology improvement include compliance with new state and federal cybersecurity requirements for continuing leads access, re-baselining the public safety campus and real-time crime center plan, improvements to the siting of neighborhood safety equipment, including our safety cameras in the community, downtown security technology improvements in partnership with Downtown Columbus, Inc., fire apparatus accommodations and signal management as part of the Bus Rapid Transit Project in partnership with CODA and Public Service, nuisance property technology improvements in partnership with the City Attorney's Office, improvements to public safety technology project management and systems contracting, and finally, improved security of police technology systems in partnership with the Department of Technology.
Thank you very much. I'm now going to turn the questioning over to my colleague, Councilmember Green.
Thank you, Chair Remy. Okay, I have a lot of questions, so which I sent over, I hope you received. So I would like to first, I guess I'll go on page 134 of the budget. I'm looking at police services, an increase of more than, of about $3 million. What type of services are we providing that are, and that's a pretty big jump from, previous years that was more incremental?
That difference is mainly due to increases in our existing contracts, mainly towing. The towing contract was rebid in 2024, and there was a huge jump in price there. And also with our helicopter maintenance contract, there were some large increases seen with that. So it's not that there's new contracts that we're bringing on board in 2025. It's more just large increases to the ones we have.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Next question is, we're looking at page 135. the administration budget jumped by $9 million, more than $9 million, but lost 14 FTEs. What is the $9 million increase resulting from?
The increases and decreases between the program are mainly coding changes because we've noticed over the past couple of years, items are like personnel or our contracts are being budgeted in one program but being spent from another. So we're making an effort to right-size our budget so that we can develop those trends in history to be able to budget more accurately in the future. So it's really not a change in our staffing or what we're doing in the department. It's more just trying to get the budget where it's being used.
Okay. The next question, one that jumped out to me and was of concern because I know how much we've been really prioritizing community policing strategies. The line item here for community programs reduced from last year almost 35 million to this year just over 3 million. Can you explain a $31 million loss in our community programs?
We haven't made any cuts to our community programs. It's just been moved to another line within the program budget.
Do you know where that would be reflected?
I'm trying to remember where we moved that. I think some of it is in administration, but I would have to get back to you as far as all of it, and I can give you a more detailed breakdown of the community programs budget for 2025.
Okay. Also similarly curious about the fire emergency services decrease of $12 million, $13 million?
That can all be seen in the training line because for some reason we have a great number of our employees are being coded to training, even though that might not be where they're stationed. So that's something that needs to be changed within our Dayforce system because that's what's used to load the budget, the personnel budget, into our accounting system. So we're going to be, that's an issue that we're aware of, and we're working on it to fix it so that everything will be where it's supposed to be for 2026.
Okay. Similar question here. The fiscal team, your team, it looks like it jumped by more than $3 million and added an additional 10 staff. Are you adding 10 fiscal staff this year, or is that?
We had staff that were previously coded to the divisions, and we've centralized everything under fiscal and in the director's office. So that's existing staff that were doing fiscal work, but may not have been coded as fiscal employees in the past. So it's just been an effort to really centralize our fiscal function, and those employees have moved from other areas into fiscal.
I'm assuming that that would then also be the same response for the $30 million or the $20 million increase under the line item of investigative.
Yes, and investigative, I think what happened was patrol. You can see that there's approximately $18 million decrease there. And I looked back through all the details of our budgeting, and that a portion of that was moved under investigative for 2025.
Okay. It's a lot of, I'm having trouble like in these areas where there's the big like 20 million and 9 million and 8 million because there's not the same amount of losses in other areas. So hence why I'm confused. I am also very curious for additional information about a nearly doubling of the special operations line item from 25 million last year to 46 million this year, but the number of FTEs, 258, has remained the same.
And that will go back to the coding of our programs. Part of that increase is with the helicopter program, but the rest of it is just changes in how we're coding, just to bring it back to trying to right-size our budget. I came on a year ago, and we've had some turnover in our fiscal staff, and just trying to get everything organized and make sure that it's coded where it's being spent. It doesn't look very good in this budget book, but moving forward, it's going to be a lot more consistent and a lot easier to track.
And then the last question, I think, I have to consult my notebook here. The last question I think I have right now is more than tripling of the training line item from $30 million to $94 million. And there is a significant increase of staff there, but it's not even quite double. So for that line item to triple to $94.6 million is pretty big. Can you help me understand that?
Yes, so the coding is, like we talked about for the personnel, is part of that, but as you mentioned, it's not all of that because there's also an increase in the dollar amounts, and it really is just, again, trying to get it back to budgeting where we're spending rather than budgeting in one area and spending somewhere else.
Would it be possible, and I'm happy to schedule, another time to talk about this, or to just get more details so I can better understand? It's also my first year, the end of my first year, but just trying to better understand where things are moving and what that means and looks like compared to last year's budget, because on the paper that I'm looking at, it just doesn't make sense to me at this level of detail.
Yes, and I understand that it looks a little rough here on paper, but I can put together the details for you and send them
Thank you.
over to your office, and then if you want, we can set up a time to go over those together.
That would be great. Thank you, Chair. I think that's all for me for now.
Thank you, council member, and thank you, Tricia Wenzel. I appreciate your presentation here today. Finally, we have a video presentation by Director Rena Shack of the Office of Violence Prevention, who wishes she could be here today. However, had a conference that was important for their office to attend. So go ahead and play that video now.
Good evening. Chair Remy, Vice Chair Favor, esteemed members of council. This is Rena Shack, the Director of the Office of Violence Prevention. We thank you for the opportunity to allow us to provide pre-recorded testimony for tonight's 2025 proposed budget public safety hearing.
Watch it.
I'd like to touch a little bit upon in this presentation our 2024 budget, some major accomplishments that were due to the financial investment in the Office of Violence Prevention in 2024, and some highlights that we intend to accomplish with our 2025 proposed budget. Beginning in 2024, our projected budget was $5.1 million. As you can see, $1.4 million of that was through personnel, $29,000 was materials and supplies, a little over $3 million was in rendering services to the community, and $635,000 was in the other category. With those funds, like I said, I would like to highlight some major accomplishments from the Office of Violence Prevention given that investment. First being our 2024 community gun buyback, our partnership with the National Institute for Criminal Justice Reform, as well as the work that we have done to begin the creation of a Columbus Community Violence Intervention ecosystem. First, I'd like to talk about the 2024 community gun buyback. As you can see, this year we were able to give out $106,425 in cash gift cards in exchange for 67 handguns, 33 shotguns, 38 rifles, and 96 assault rifles. Those are staggering numbers, and we consider this last year's gun buyback an incredible success. In fact, we continue to get feedback to this day asking whether or not this will be an annual event. We hope that with council's help and the 2025 budget, we can bring this event to the community in partnership with the Columbus Division of Police every year because the interest is that strong. As you can see, we had $106,000 that we were able to give out this year, and we hope that our request for 2025 we're able to significantly increase that amount so that we can significantly increase the amount of firearms that we are taking in and destroying. The second point of accomplishment is our partnership with the National Institute for Criminal Justice Reform. The reason that we highlight this is because it is a significantly large contract that we undertook at the beginning of 2024 that will run through 2025. And what the National Institute for Criminal Justice Reform has been able to provide for the City of Columbus and the OVP has been significant technical training, assistance, and guidance. Not only have they been on site in Columbus beginning this summer, almost every month for anywhere ranging from 1 to 3 days, but they provide bi-weekly virtual support, both in technical training and general assistance, as well as in communication support. In addition to that training, they're also able to provide guidance in the facilitation of 3 different convenings for us to bring together all of the violence prevention professionals who are either run out of a city department and or funded through a city department to do the violence intervention work that we see is significantly lowering homicide numbers here for our city. The first convening was in February of 2024. The second was in August of 2024. And the third is to be held in January of 2025. Through those convenings, we have seen an incredible amount of increase in participation, in collaboration, and of cross referrals of all the organizations that are violence prevention partners here in the City of Columbus, which we believe will assist us in continuing to reduce the violent crime reduction that we've been seeing. And in addition to this training and assistance, what NICJR has also provided in partnership with us is the commitment to put out 3 different reports for the City of Columbus. These are significant undertakings, and the first is the Community Violence Intervention Landscape Analysis Report. Now, this was released in August of 2024, and what it does is it really takes a deep dive into what the community violence intervention landscape in Columbus looked like as of this past summer. It took a deep dive into the resources that we were providing and the programs that we were providing as a city, as well as it made some significant recommendations for where we as a city, led by the Office of Violence Prevention, could see improvements so that we could have the most cohesive violence intervention ecosystem that we can possibly achieve here for our city. As you see on this slide, it lists all of the entities that the Office of Violence Prevention has been working with very closely in order to collaborate and strategize on how to move forward in one unified way as a comprehensive ecosystem so that we can have maximum impact in our community. The second report through NICJR's partnership was our cost of gun violence analysis. This was released in November of 2024, and what it does is it takes a look at all of the system's costs that is a burden, frankly, on the taxpayers of the City of Columbus, and what that means with a financial impact every time there is a homicide or a non-fatal shooting here in our city. As you can see on the slide in front of you, the numbers that came back were staggering. The citizens of Columbus are paying $2.1 million in reactionary resources every time there is a homicide in our city, and $738,000 every time there is a non-fatal shooting in the City of Columbus. Of course, we at OVP recognize that this report does not take into consideration the incredible toll, both emotionally and traumatically, that a homicide or a non-fatal shooting can have both on the community, the families and friends and loved ones that are involved, both on the side of the suspect and the victim. And we recognize that. And we are also doing work in those spaces to make sure that we are providing the resources that are necessary to help lower those impacts. But at the same time, data drives conversation and data drives decisions. And so this report really enables us as a city to see what we are putting into responses every time there's an act of violence. and to be able to see where we want to maybe place that money on the front end so that we can bolster the prevention side and not lose the lives that we're losing. Additional 2024 highlights that we were able to accomplish with our 2024 budget was membership in the National Offices of Violence Prevention Network, which was able to take the City of Columbus to the White House's Office of Gun Violence Prevention in May. It was able to take the City of Columbus Office of Violence Prevention to Los Angeles, as well as Indianapolis in the fall. And all three areas, the City of Columbus was highlighted for the amazing work that our violence reduction partners and professionals here locally are doing. We're setting trends across the nation, and we are seen as a leader in this space. And that's due to the financial investment that the City of Columbus has made in the work of the Office of Violence Prevention. Our office was also able to host and to present race, crime, violence, and systemic issues trainings, both nationally and on the state level. We were able to offer Safe Spring Break and Safe Winter Break series to well over 1,000 City of Columbus youth to give them opportunities to participate in productive activities during spring and winter breaks when they are not in school. We successfully transitioned the Columbus Violence Reduction to the Office of Violence Prevention from the Department of Public Safety. We were also able to bolster our support for domestic violence reduction, as well as a batterers intervention program creation in partnership with the Franklin County Municipal Court. The last highlight that I want to touch upon is our contract with the Ohio State University. This would be with the HOPES team out of their College of Public Health. And what that contract is providing for the City of Columbus is the creation of a measurement and assessment tool for all violence prevention, intervention, and interruption services moving forward, so that the Office of Violence Prevention can assist all entities within our city in measuring and assessing the impact of our violence reduction programming, as well as helping us to provide a rubric for where to further invest in the future. With that said, we'll move forward to the 2025 proposed budget, which is a proposed budget of $6.8 million. Of that, a little over $2.6 million is in personnel, $450,000 is in materials and supplies, $3 million is in services to the community, and $625,000 is in the other category. Now, with that increase from last year, as you can see on the slide in front of you, we are moving from 8 full-time employees to a total of 21 full-time employees for the year 2025, which is a significant increase. And it really reflects the increase that you see in the 2025 proposed budget. A lot of that has to do with the coordination and consolidation of the Columbus Community Violence Intervention ecosystem. Again, we will have 25 full-time OVP employees. We now have 21, and we'll be increasing that number to 25 if allotted the 2025 proposed budget. It also includes an increase due to the Columbus Violence Intervention contracts for Columbus Urban League, Columbus Violence Reduction, as well as the Community for New Directions. These are the violence intervention and interruption contract partners with the City of Columbus, and the Office of Violence Prevention will be undertaking those contracts for the year 2025. This also includes an increased support of other ecosystem members, includes support for data collection, processing, and measurement, as well as a 2025 NICJR contract for further guidance and foundation support. The 2025 proposed budget also touches upon increased support for community agencies, which will include those domestic violence partnerships that I spoke about previously, to Choices, as well as a continued support for the construction of the Batterers Intervention Program. It would also go towards sponsorships and mini grants for community agencies that might not otherwise be able to access different large federal or state grants. $125,000 of that would go towards summer youth grant programming directly overseen by the Office of Violence Prevention, And of course, a continued investment in community events that would include more spring break or winter break series, a gun violence awareness series of events for the month of June, which is Gun Violence Awareness Month, as well as a 2025 community gun buyback. These are just some of the highlights that we anticipate spending that proposed 2025 amount on. Certainly, there's significant detail that goes into every single one of those previous bullet points that I just discussed. I'm sorry that I could not be there with you tonight in person. We did have a prearranged office trip planned for a site visit to the Office of Violence Prevention and their counterparts in Indianapolis, Indiana. But I am more than happy to field any questions at any point in time from either the public, any member of City Council, as well as any other director in the city, and obviously the mayor's office. And so the Office of Violence Prevention is always at the disposal of anybody that has questions about the work of the Office of Violence Prevention, whether that's work that we have previously undertaken or work that we hope to do in the future. Again, thank you so much for the opportunity to be before you today with these pre-recorded remarks. And absolutely any questions that anyone has in the future can be diverted to our office, and we would be more than happy to set aside the time to answer any questions. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening.
I'd like to thank the Director of Office of Violence Prevention, Director Rena Shack, for that presentation. So this evening we have two public speakers, and so I would like to call up Michael Aaron, the first speaker. Please state your name, your address, and any organization you represent. You have 3 minutes to speak. Mike, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Councilmember Remy and Vice Chair Green. Before I begin, I would just like to call the name of one of our staff members who passed away this morning, Miss Gloria Long, Sister Gloria Long. She was our mental health professional. She had been with us 2 years since the inception of our teen program, and we are all heartbroken right now. And she was just with us 6 months ago as our teens visited this very chamber. And so, Sister Gloria Long, we love you, we miss you, and we're here to try and get the money for the kids. Good afternoon, Councilmember Emmanuel Remy and Vice Chair Green and members of the Public Safety Committee. My name is Michael Aaron, Executive Director of the Rickenbacker Woods Foundation. I'm here to discuss the continuation and expansion of the Creators, Originators, and Innovators of Tomorrow Workforce Initiative, or as we call it, COITWE. First, I'd like to thank this council for your commitment to public safety and youth development in Columbus. Programs like COITWE are essential to building safer neighborhoods, addressing youth crime, and creating opportunities that benefit both our young people and community at large. In 2024, COITWE successfully engaged 35 high school students in a 6-month program that combined paid internships, hands-on learning, and community service. These 35 youth, who might otherwise have been at risk of entering the juvenile detention system, participated in activities that fostered responsibility, critical thinking, and a sense of purpose. The cost of detaining one youth in the Franklin County Juvenile Detention Center is approximately $300 per day. By keeping these 35 young people out of the system, COITWE potentially saved taxpayers an estimated $1.9 million over 6 months, a clear and measurable financial benefit to the city and its citizens. Beyond cost savings, the program had a profound impact on youth crime and neighborhood safety. Participants worked on projects such as community murals, public speaking engagements, and the creation of a community garden, all while learning life skills and teamwork. Many of these students reported improved self-esteem, greater focus in school, and a stronger connection to their community. These are the building blocks for reducing youth crime and preventing future offenses. COITWE also directly contributes to neighborhood safety. Research shows that engaging young people in structured activities reduces crime and violence in the surrounding areas. In our neighborhood in Driving Park, where COITWE interns completed projects, residents have reported feeling more connected and safer, knowing that young people were positively contributing to their community rather than engaging in harmful activities. Looking ahead, the 2025 program will seek to expand on these successes with new field trips to Ohio's historic colleges and a capstone project addressing youth violence citywide, and partnerships with other teen groups in Columbus. However, this vision cannot be realized without your continued support. Today, I respectfully ask this council to invest in the QUICKly program for 2025. Together, we can keep young people safe, educated, while saving taxpayers money and creating a brighter future for our city. Thank you for your dedication to public safety and youth development, and also a huge thanks to this council and Mayor Andy Ginther for his continued support since our foundation's inception. Thank you.
Great job, and so sorry for your loss of Miss Gloria Long. We certainly extend our sincerest condolences for that.
Right on. Thank you. Any questions?
Not at the moment.
What is the funding request amount?
$200,000.
Have you sent it over written to?
Yes, we have, but we'll send it again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Doreen Uasauer. Welcome back to council. If you could please state your name and the organization you represent, certainly appreciate it.
Good evening. I'll try to keep my comments brief, but a little bit more conversational, I guess. Doreen Uasauer and esteemed members of council, thank you for a long evening in a cold room. I'm sure you're ready to burn a few desks by now, too. Yes, Michael and I are back there sniffing at each other and then reminding ourselves that if we weren't here, we'd have to face Gloria at some time in the hereafter for not being here. I am on the Board of Trustees for Rickenbacker Wood, but I got involved with the project more than 3 years ago when it was just starting, and I will tell you why I stayed with it, and I don't mean to belay this, and I'm watching the time go down, so it may be much more than 3 minutes. I chair the University Area Commission, but I am an educator of 38 years in the classroom, and I have actually always been able to mentor with some of the finest educators in Columbus. I ran the Annenberg program, which is actually the tie with Shannon Hardin because he was a student at Cause at the time. And so in running one of the 3 sites, and we were the only site in, actually in the United States that survived not just the first year, but were funded the second and third year. And the program went to the Constitutional Rights Foundation program at the point. What's interesting about running a program like that, and then also doing the Teaching American History grant of 18 high schools, which I did for a number of years, is that I'm very well acquainted with educational foundation pieces. There are a lot of good people out there doing good things about violence prevention and are certainly having successful programs. But I've also worked in civic education for almost 30 years internationally with both Ohio State, Bowling Green, Jagiellonia University in Poland, because Ohio State was given that assignment once the Berlin Wall fell. So I have worked in Ukraine, Lithuania. I ran the teacher program between Columbus and Moscow. And this civic education has really grounded me, I want to say, in educational principles. This is why the Rickenbacker Wood Foundation program works. It's a little bit different than perhaps what some other people are approaching. But one of the first things, there are 4 principles, I'm sure I'll try to not run over. One is scaffolding. If you think about it, scaffolding in education generally means you start at the bottom and you work your way up, like you would help build a ladder, right? So if you learn something in first grade, then second grade builds on it, whatnot. That's wrong. It's exemplar. You do it the other way around. You start with a high school, and you start actually at the top to build what is going to be the exemplar so you know what has to follow. Otherwise, what happens exactly in Ohio if you only read the standards in social studies or politics or government, because all of us only have a 4th grade education as citizens. That's it. So if you want to know how a bill becomes a law, the last thing you do is look at the curriculum for the state of Ohio. The second thing is that it is teacher as co-learner. There is a brain theory was often taught in all of the years that I was at Fort Hays. I've only been at Indianola and Fort Hays. And at Fort Hays, we were intensively using teachers as co-learners with students. In other words, there is a fissure in the brain which closes more slowly in young men than it does women. It's one of the reasons why college-age guys tend to be much more risky than they are young women who that maturity is happening. But if you can construct a controlled environment in which students are working outside the normal box, you're giving them safe risks. And that means community service. That means service learning. The state of Ohio no longer funds service learning. We ran 230 programs out of Fort Hays with service learning, and now it's a matter of trying to find those connections, those conduits. The third program that works very well is that not just the risky behavior is in a much more controlled environment, but by doing this and forming other collaborations, when we did the park, for instance, or other youth groups that are within Columbus and letting students also have a voice in that, what we're really modeling is intergenerational behavior that defies being divisive because it helps us understand generational issues. If we are lucky, we only know 3 sets of stories. Our parents, our own experience, but our parents' experience, our grandparents, our great-grandparents. If there is trauma in any one of those situations or joyous occasions, of which there can be quite a few actually documented, what we have to do, we start to learn what I would consider to be Ohio Humanities 101 if it were taught for adolescents. Allowing students access to help define their own curriculum gives them absolute authority and interest of what they want to pursue. In other words, when James Baldwin said we carry our history with us, he meant all of us. And he meant all of us having to know the history of the others. And then the fourth thing is that there's always a backup plan. It's not just an A plan or a B plan. You have a C and a D plan. I was Ohio Teacher of the Year, and I think when I stayed up that night without any sleep and finished turning in the application, what I've heard later from people was, when I said, you know what, education is not a golden goblet. It's more like being an enthusiastic shoe salesman. And if the pair doesn't fit, you try something else. What I like about Rickenbacker Wood and how I can really say that it is working in terms of where youth are going because they have a voice with it, because we model what we do, because it's based on sound educational science. And thank you very much for your attention, and thank you for both of what you do. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all that you do for the community.
I'm just old, you know, as I tell Shannon Hard. I know where the bodies are buried. I'm just old.
That's
and
right.
When I received the award most recently from as Commissioner of the Year, that was my Joe Biden moment. I started to really have to worry about what is that saying for other people about me. But what was really important to me is I revealed the secret of how we got funded for 3 years with Annenberg when they let New York go and the entire state of Virginia go. It was because I matched area commissions at the time with teachers. Because if I want to teach a teacher how to do something, you look to an area commissioner. They can define the program, they can deal with it, they have useful suggestions, and they try not to waste your time, and they're always appreciative. And that's just how it goes in education, too.
Well,
so thank you.
Thank you so much. Happy holidays.
Have a good holiday.
Councilmember Green, anything further? All right. Well, thank you very much. I'd like to end this hearing by thanking our committee partners here tonight for joining and presenting. I look forward to 2025 and the exciting plans that each of our different divisions of the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee entail. Thank you to the council team, Cole Calloway, John Oswald, Mark Carter, and to the CTV team for their assistance in preparing for this hearing today. This concludes tonight's Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee on the 2025 budget. I want to wish everyone a very happy and safe holiday season. Have a great evening, everyone.